This is the Board of County Commissioners in Richland County. The county commissioners are Banks, Mears, and Vero, and they're all here. Clerk Stacy Crawl, and our assistant clerk Heather Toman, our administrator Andrew Keller, our wastewater director manager Amanda Miller is here, and from Richland Engineering is Pat Schwan. And in the back row, we have guest Steve McLaughlin. And online, we have no name Nicole, unless you want to give us your name, Nicole. And also we have Carl Hunnell from the Richland Source. So, Amanda, Andrew, and Pat, what do you have?
Well, I'll take it away and then I'll hand it off to the experts. So this 64-page plan set, which the commissioners have seen, is the product of a 1.5 design work. In fact, another 555-page contract package that will be made available yet today to prospective contractors, all representing work by our design team over the last 1.5 years, along with collaboration with our partners, the Village of Belleville, and with the YMCA as we prepare to get the soccer complex online the moment they're ready to go online with sewer service. As you can tell, it's not a small project. But it is a thoughtful project, and we hope it'll be well received by contractors considering the work. The commissioners continue to be true believers in industry and business in Richland County, and this project is foundational. The development and the growth that we expect in this corridor. So with that, I will turn it over to our wastewater director, Amanda Miller, to make any comments you'd like to make on what we're actually doing.
Well, I am very, very thankful for all the assistance that we had and the collaborations that we have done to try to get this project off the ground. We started out with the mission of replacing 3,400 feet of force main down there, lining over 18,000 feet of clay pipe. We are going to bring the lift station above ground out of the floodwaters.
You say that again, just so we can, we're replacing 3,400 feet of
Ductile iron force main.
And then 18,000
feet of vitrified clay pipe. We are lining it with cure in place pipe. That'll seal up any of the cracks or any broken spots. We already did the preliminary camera work, and we know that there are a few, no major concerns. But this will stop any I&I from getting in from those fractures. We're replacing the lift station that is currently at Belleville Johnsville Road. We're going to bring that above ground out of the floodwaters, and we are happy to say we're installing a new lift station at Coheiser Road with the impression of development there for the soccer complex and capacity to connect even more in the future. At this point, I'm excited. Can't wait to get started. Bid package to go out and making real headway with it.
So, in the end, the estimate's about $4 million. So it's a pretty significant investment in that area. It brings it up to current standards for the sewer, the force main, and then the lift stations are really the big big ticket item that gets incorporated into this corridor in this area. As Menda mentioned, with some thought for some future upgrades that can happen in the future as things change or develop down through the corridor, which is always thinking ahead rather than just planning for today, which is one of the things that we spent a lot of time working through and making sure we were very thoughtful, as Amanda mentioned, and really what we were trying to develop and incorporate and prepare the plan for, so that it's not just for today, it's for tomorrow, the next generation as well.
And the sewer plant in Butler is prepared for all this, large enough.
Yes. The sewer plant in Butler, our initial design, primary design.
Necessarily be as a result of this project. That would be more a result of any new development, right? I mean, we're just lining it, so they're handling what's taking place now, right?
Yes, it's
Yes.
what's going right
Right.
now and then with the,
Yeah, we hope that, yeah, we think it's okay, right?
yeah. Any other questions here? Carl, do you have any questions?
Oh, I always have questions. When we talked about this, I believe it was last October, this project was going to improve infrastructure from Belleville, Johnsville Road past the Love's travel stop. Is that still kind of the plan in terms of the geographic location?
We are not going quite past the Love's travel stop. We're going right there where it meets on Coheiser Road. We're ending there, we're going to put a force main down Coheiser, and right there between the Y property and the village property, we're going to put a lift station right there at the roadway. And that lift station is going to lift it up to 97 to the existing sanitary sewer that's there.
Carl, that'll allow, because of the proximity to the YMCA, it's adjacent to the proposed soccer complex, the lift station. So that'll allow the YMCA to connect via gravity lateral to the lift station and then immediately get pumped into our system.
Okay, Amanda, I think you had said the system currently handles an average of 55,000 gallons a day, and these improvements could allow it to handle 6 times as much. Is that still correct? No.
We put the base infrastructure in. We planned this for an 85,000 gallons a day because we're at average around 55,000 right now. The pump size and everything that we're putting in for the initial startup is going to have the capacity to do the 85,000. The primary infrastructure that we have enlarged for the future base has been the force main and the pump station capacities themselves. So in going forward, the more they grow, we've even spec'd out, I believe, the actual pumps that would need for them to grow to where they can get up to 300,000, real close to 300,000 gallons a day pumped through the Belleville Johnsville Road station. The Coheiser one is designed for over 20,000 gallons a day. We anticipate growth there, but that should meet the Y's, definitely meet the Y's expected flow.
Okay, so the pipes and things themselves could handle up to 300,000, but if you needed to actually increase beyond what you're doing here, it would require more pumps and/or lift stations. Is that what I'm hearing?
It'll require a change in pumps. The pumps we're installing will allow us to ramp them up a little bit more than the 85,000 gallons, but for the 300,000 gallon pump rate, you're going to need a larger pump. So everything is sized and ready for the install of that larger pump as future development would require it.
Okay, and guess I'll ask this to all the folks in the room who are connected with this. Obviously, in the background somewhere, there's a clock softly ticking. This work has to be contracted by the end of the year and has to be completed by the end of 2026 if commissioners are going to use ARPA money to pay for it. So are we kind of describe the timeline for how this is going to work? And is there any concerns about that timeline?
Carl, we plan to publish immediately to get this advertised. We are going to open bids on Tuesday, September 17th, which is exactly 4 weeks from today at 10 a.m. will be bid opening. As we mentioned earlier, we're hopeful that this project is well received by contractors and The deadline for obligation on our ARPA funds is December 31st, 2024. So that's coming here soon. But that simply means we need to be under contract with a contractor by the end of the year. We're on track to do that. We're confident that's going to happen. And as you might recall, the expenditure deadline for ARPA funds is December 31st, 2026. So we'll have 2 years to complete the project. Our engineer has designed this project so that substantial completion is in April of 2026, which gives us, and we believe that's being generous. It's just depending on contingencies. So we're on track, but we're ready to get started.
Carl, Andrew and I met last month to review every ARPA expenditure. One project we wanted to make sure would be completed in time would be the broadband expansion. As you know, we've talked about, and it's been in the news, there's been delays with broadband expansion across the state of Ohio for various reasons. One, the influx of permitting, the delay in getting permits approved through various utility holders. And we received assurances from Charter Communications that the county's $2 million ARPA appropriation for broadband expansion to roughly 750 customers will be completed by December 31st, 2026. So Andrew and I have been closely monitoring our appropriations, where the dollars are, and we believe, again, that our ARPA dollars and the projects related to them will be complete by December 31st of 2026.
Thank you. And Patrick, obviously this is in your wheelhouse. So as you look at this, are you comfortable with the estimate of 4 to 4.2 million? And with the busyness of contractors, is this something that you expect to see a significant number of bids for? And is this the kind of work that could be done within that time frame?
There's several components that you think about when you look at this project. We have Liner, which is normally a specialty type company. The lift stations, which, is usually one of our local general contractors are able to do, and Gorman Rupp, working with Gorman Rupp, which is, available materials has kind of been a concern, obviously, with a lot of projects. And then we got the force main, which is usually done by some of our local contractors. Do I expect, I think the project's big enough that I expect a pretty good turnout for bidders. We can never predict. Obviously, you're right. There's a lot of construction going on right now. So you never know when we go through the public bidding process, what will it look like. We feel comfortable with the estimate. We've done a lot of research and collaboration to come up with what we have. Hopefully contractors feel the same way. The material things are the things that are the most variable, and we've tried to make sure we could track those down, and to help us to determine what that's kind of cost we're going to be looking at. At the end of the day, I obviously, we cross our fingers a little bit in my business to say, oh gosh, we hope we have a lot of interest in this. That only just brings out the best in what we have for the process for public bidding, but there's no guarantee. But I think this project is got a variety of things that should bring a lot of interest in the things that are happening, and it's kind of a set corridor, so it's not on a new line or new area. And our expectations are set forth. We try to obviously make things as clear as possible, so there's not a lot of ambiguity in the plans and the contract documents or whatever, but there's just a lot there, and it covers a long area or whatever, but there really is kind of some focused items that are incorporated into the plan that some of them are redundant, like the lift stations and the lining. And then, like I mentioned, the force main becomes something that's really the components of really what make up this entire project.
Thank you. Amanda, I know that this is designed to handle the YMCA. I know there's been discussion about, and I haven't heard anything recently, but in the last couple of years, there was talk about a housing development with maybe 400 plus units on 80 acres in that area. would this upgrade be enough to handle that, or would you need to do additional things to accommodate if you had that kind of housing development?
We would definitely need to do some additional things, for that complete project. It was a lot bigger than, we're going with it, at the time. And the project hasn't moved forward yet, but we would be able to handle
Should be
at a station,
the villages system at that time, right?
I'm hoping that it'll be.
Yeah, Carl.
Is by that time, the agreement is to complete it and it'll be theirs to make sure that everything is in line. But like I said, it's a little bit of it would be a little bit of an investment in the future. Should they want to put that entire development as it laid, because there was residential homes and commercial and everything designed in that project, the preliminary that I had seen. So
Part of the strategy behind this design is it's a scalable project. In other words, as demand increases down the road, which it will, it's just a matter of when, this will make it possible to increase capacity, increase transmission capacity, on demand, but it will require upgrades from time to time as more users come on.
Carl, if you recall, when this project is complete, we will, by contract, turn the system over to the Village of Belleville. So everyone in that corridor will be a part of the Village of Belleville's sewer system.
I would like to thank Commissioner Vero for anticipating my last question, which is it still the plan to hand the keys to this to the village once it's done?
yes.
All right, that's what I had. Thanks, guys.
Greg, do you have any questions?
Question. This is maybe a little bit down the road. We have major thoroughfares there. How is it going to affect traffic, if at all, once construction starts?
Well, a lot of the work through the 71 area is just liner. So they will have, a small zone, shouldn't impact the traffic too terribly. The other work, the lift stations are offline. They're adjacent to the roadways, so those shouldn't affect the traffic. So there's probably going to be some interruption, lane closures that are probably going to be needed so they can have their equipment in there, but it's not intended to have a road closure per se to restrict traffic through the area. And I know that the 71 interchange is probably the most critical area or whatever as far as traffic flow and things. We do have to tie into the sanitary sewer that is out in the middle of the road. Unfortunately, there at near Coheiser, that's where the existing sanitary line currently stops. We will have to make a connection there, so there will be some excavation and some work that'll have to be in the road there. That's probably going to be the most disruptive area or whatever, and we'll have to just the contractor have to just work through a safe way to maintain traffic through there at the volumes that are going to have to access through there. And there'll probably be delays as there is in any construction area. And we ask everybody to always be safe in the construction zone. But there will be some disruption, but the hope is that it'll be limited as it goes through.
And again, your engineer's estimate for the project, I kind of missed that on camera.
It's okay. It's 4.25 million. This is what our engineer's estimate is.
Anybody online other than Carl have a question? Okay, thank you very much for, pardon me?
We need a motion to authorize advertising.
Sure do.
So moved.
Second.
Fairbanks,
Yes.
Arrow,
Yes.
Ramirez.
Yes.
Okay, great work very much.
Great work. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
We saved our hard questions for the next group. Lots of questions.
Matt and Jane, would you like to
Guys,
up here, please?
so many questions.
We're around each other so much, we even dress alike now. So, condolences for her.
Well, we think less of
Hey.
Jane now.
I
So
figured that.
I saw the hot pink last time.
Yep, that was Monday's meeting.
sounds about right.
Okay, so what is on the mind of, well, we've been joined by our Board of Election, Matt Finfield and Jane Zimmerman. And they're going to enlighten us and probably ask for some money, are you?
Yeah, we just want to sort of inform you as to how we're preparing going into November. We have a couple of handouts for you with important dates, also questions and issues. And we're going to be going over these handouts in a second. We've had some improvements and upgrades again. One of the things we instituted is all the campaign finance reports that are filed with the county is now online and available on our website. So if a citizen wants to look up somebody's campaign finance report that they filed, just need to go on our website and they're able to search for it. We're excited about that. That gives a lot of information to the voters and to the people that they can look at reports that are filed.
Said that with the campaign finance reports, those will not go online until they've been audited. Amanda Hike does that in our office, and then Jane and I also go through it to verify that the information is correct. Then we take it to the board for them to file. So until the board approves those finance reports, they will not go online until then.
Wouldn't do.
It depends if you're on the ballot. It'll be a pre-general that will be due mid-October if you're on the ballot. And then the post-general will be in December. If you're not on the ballot, it's going to be the annual, which would be the end of January 25.
No retroactive reports. When you start, no previous report's gonna show up online, right?
So we have all the reports that have been filed and approved for any campaign committee that files with the county. Like our General Assembly candidates file with the Secretary of State. So for example, any candidate here who has filed for the last 6 years, which is what the retention schedule is for the treasurer who handles that committee, will have their campaign finance reports that have been approved online.
Are any questions, any more questions on the campaign finance? And we're going to move on to the readiness for November. So it's what we've been doing for this upcoming November election. Last Monday, we did have a meeting with county officials. We had quite a few there. Commissioner Mears was there, County Administrator Andrew Keller, County Engineer Adam Gove, Aaron Lemaster from IT, Major Joe Massey, Captain Sweat, and also Rebecca Owens with EMA. We're very lucky to have the collaboration that we have in this county. Some of the things that we discussed at that meeting, was what if there's a power failure on election day? Elections is all about preparing, having plan B, C, and D ready to enact. We also discussed with the Sheriff's Department, Mark's radios and their coverage for election day. We want all our rovers to have Mark's radios just in case there was something with the cell phone service that went out. That way we can always have communication out in the field with our rovers. And as far as the power failure, that question, EMA, we wanted to know how many generators is out there. EMA has 12 available. County engineer has 2. Josh Hicks was also there, head of maintenance. He has 4. So there's a lot of information that we wanted to gather just so we could enact a plan, worst case scenario. We also discussed if security is needed for early voting. And then also parking for early voting. So parking for early voting, we're doing something a little different this election. We've always tried to take that middle area right outside our main door for voter parking. However, we've never really marked it. So for this election, we got signs that clearly say voter parking, and we'll have about 5 or 6 of them in the middle of that all the way through. Just to make sure. We had an issue with some people that was coming to visit other offices there that would occupy almost all those spaces. So we want to make sure there's plenty of parking for the voters so they don't have to walk, any further than they need to. And EMA also offered to have some volunteers come out if we needed help directing traffic or anything of that nature. And kind of going on with that, Josh Hicks was gracious enough to let us know that he is going to get that dumpster moved. Jane's been working on that for about 5 years since she's been here.
Temporarily though.
Yeah, temporarily. But it is getting moved because
Wars.
there, well, you know, it's needed. You hate to tell people the ballot box is by the dumpster. It just doesn't.
Doesn't sound right, yeah.
I have a joke for that, but
Yeah, I bet you do.
It sort of hides the ballot box and.
It does. And the camera view and all that. So this will be real quick, clear. Plus, we use that grass area for parking at times. We only have the 3 handicap spots. There's a lot of times we have more than 3 people that need that spot. You know, in the 2022 general, we were the directors, not only directors, but parking lot directors.
Yeah.
We were guiding them into the grass and, you know, so they didn't have to walk any further than they need to. So by having that dumpster gone, that'll be nice for that as well. Also, we asked Adam Gove, you know, is there any known road closures at this time that are close to our polling locations? And if any come up, if he would let us know. We also talked about backup polling locations and office location. If something happened to the Longview building on election day, what would we do? Same thing with the polling location. If something happened to a polling location, where would we go? Where would we move that? So there are some really good ideas that come out of that discussion. And then also inclement weather, if that happened. We all know it's the 1st of November and anything can happen, snow, you know, ice, whatever. So we had some discussion with, you know, Josh Hicks about some of those issues.
Just to piggyback off of that, our staff's also being trained on any kind of emergency activity that if we're not there or we're tied up. For example, all our staff has been trained in administering Narcan. We have Narcan available in our office and down for early vote in case of an emergency.
And part of that reasoning is there has been some election offices, not in the state of Ohio, but in other states that have received fentanyl in an envelope. So what we're doing is they'll go into a different room when they're opening the ballots initially, opening the outside envelope to make sure if there's Narcan, we have to be able to shut that room down. So obviously it cannot be in our main office. Those are just, you know, some of the things that people don't think about and would never think about. And hopefully never happens and we never have to enact any of those. But it is something that we're planning for and just in case. Any questions about?
You got volunteers that are going to open them up for the first time?
Well, we hope.
You're not putting one person back there.
No.
Oh, no, everything's bipartisan.
Bipartisan, yeah.
Yeah, so there'll be probably more than one team a lot of times, I would assume too.
It sounds like you've really researched a lot of things and being prepared and greatly appreciate that you two got a lot of people there to help you out. And
Yes, we have a great part-time staff, seasonal staff. We'll probably have about 40 to 50 of them this election. Obviously, we couldn't do it without those, 40 or 50 people that are always there to help us out. They come in on last minute notice, that's one of the hard things is trying to schedule people to guess when you're going to be busy for early vote, right? That's just, it's hard to do. It's hard to predict. A lot of times if it rains, we're busier. If it's a real nice day, people aren't coming in because they have other things they're doing. So, it's hard to predict that and make sure that you have the staff and the coverage. But our seasonal staff is amazing.
Great job, Jane.
And your prediction for voter turnout is?
70?
Yes.
Really? 70
plus. I'm always optimistic.
Yeah, I'm 67 to 70 at the highest.
So the last presidential was 72 and the previous one was 68, I want to say. So I would say it would be within that range. That's what we're expecting.
We do have a state issue on now, so that might bring some out a little more.
Kind of going over some of the important dates. Monday, September 16th, we'll start our LNA testing. That's our logic and accuracy testing. We put up every voting machine that is going out. And we run it through a series of tests and then also tabulate those votes to make sure everything's running properly. So that'll take probably a week, maybe a week and a half. Again, we'll bring in about 20 seasonal employees to help. And we'll get all those, including the early vote machines, tested. Friday, September 20th is Uakava. That's when we can mail out military or overseas ballots. And we have to have one voting machine ready. Monday, October 7th is a voter registration or update of information deadline, and we'll be open till 9 o'clock that night. So voters will, or anyone wanting to turn one in after 4 will want to come to the back and come in our main entrance there, up till 9 o'clock. Tuesday, October 8th, that is the first day of early in-person voting, and that's also the first day that we can mail out absentee ballots. And kind of talking about absentee ballots, every voter will be getting an absentee request form from the Secretary of State. They'll probably get a lot more than that. You only need one. You don't have to turn in 3 or 4 of them. Just turn into one and we will mail them out on October 8th.
You're only gonna send them one.
What's that?
You're only gonna send them one,
We don't send any.
right? You know,
Well, if they request them, we'll send them a request
Right.
form.
But Secretary LaRose is mailing out the first week, I think, of
First
September.
week, second week of September is what the guideline
And
is.
then there's usually other groups that mail out request forms on their own, but
And
it's,
then the secretary does a second round, first week of October for the voters that had been registering or updating after that first initial mailing.
You have a lot of people who vote absentee, then forget, and then come in and vote in person.
or they filled it out because they thought it was just wanting to know if they're gonna vote.
Yeah.
And they get the ballot and they, bring the ballot in, not voted and say, no, I wanted to vote in person. Not a problem. We can take care of that. We do like to have the blank ballot back. Just so we can void that out and make sure nothing happens. But that's a very common thing that happens, definitely, when they get mailed an application.
And we can handle that in early vote, but if they go to their polls on election day, they're going to be doing a provisional. Because the poll worker's not going to know the status of that absentee ballot, so.
We will be open on Columbus Day, including early vote, so you can come out and early vote then. And Tuesday, October 29th is the last day to apply for a vote by mail absentee ballot. Be open till 8:30 that night to accept any applications on the 29th. We'll start PEO training, poll worker training. We'll do that on Monday, October 14th. That's our new poll worker training. Jane, do you want to talk a little?
Yeah, right now we've had, the board has approved a little over 540 current poll workers. They have to be approved by the board annually. Since the last election, we've had a little over 100 people, new PEOs register online or call in or stop in. Hopefully most of them will show up for the new PEO training. And then they will also go through our regular station training. So we're anticipating that number to climb up a little more as we get closer to election.
And we will obviously have more staff out on election day for poll workers, anticipating the bigger turnout. So our regular poll worker station training will be October 16th, October 18th, 23rd, Saturday, October 26th. The next part just kind of lists the early voting hours. The first 2 weeks are 8 to 5, just on the weekdays. Week 3, which starts October 21st through October 25th, is 8 to 6. Saturday, October 26th is 8 to 4, and Sunday, October 27th is 1 to 5. Going into the last week, Monday, October 28th is 7:30 to 7:30. Tuesday, October 29th is 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Because of it being the last day to turn in an application. And then Wednesday, October 30th, Thursday, the 31st, and Friday, the 1st will be 7:30 to 7:30. Saturday, November 2nd, 8 to 4, and Sunday, November 3rd, 1 to 5. That is the end of early voting. There is no more early voting the day before the election on that Monday, which we're very thankful for because we have a lot going on that day.
Been that way for a while, right?
Just
Last election, you could.
yeah,
It
but
was.
there is a lot of voters that only vote once every 4 years. So they might be used to coming that day before election. But we're, like I said, we're very thankful because it cuts down on the congestion in the parking lot. We have poll workers picking up supplies that day. We're doing last minute things to prepare. So just keep in mind that that is the last day, Sunday, November 3rd to vote. And then obviously we'll be open 8 to 5 after election for the cure period on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And then Saturday will also be open 8 to 5 to cure any provisional ballots. So if someone forgets their
Close on election day, just so everyone remembers,
7:30 PM, 6:30 AM to 7:30 PM.
around 7:45. Hold of you.
So you're gonna work the polls next year? Is that what I heard? I know yours will be done by then, right? Our first results hopefully will be out a little after 8, and those first numbers,
Get that recorded there, so.
I said a little after 8. That doesn't mean 8:01. I forgot what I was gonna say. Our first numbers are always our absentee numbers. That's mail absentee, or if you come in person. Those are the very first numbers that are always released. A question we get a lot is, do you only count those if it's close? No, we always count those, and those are always the first set of numbers that come out to the public. Jane, do you have anything on?
No, just a really quick, in addition to what the board approves besides the poll workers, we also approve our allocation of the ICX voting machines and paper ballots. So Matt touched on the logic and accuracy. So during that period of time, we're going to be setting up 443 machines, setting them up, testing each one, making sure they're tabulating correctly, clearing them, and then sealing each one of those machines up. We have 5 spare. We have 25 available for early voting, and the rest go out in the field for voting purposes.
We also gave you a list of the issues that were approved last Tuesday by our board. So there is a total of 27 plus the state issue, 27 local issues. 5 are for a new tax levy. And out of that 5, that includes 2 where we're not the most populous. That would be Loudonville Schools and Ehove. Those are part of that 5 for the new levy. There's 11 renewals, 6 liquor options, and 5 charter amendments. In the city of Mansfield and 4 in the city of Shelby. We was hoping there's gonna be 5, but we didn't get there. Maybe in the future. So there's quite a few levies that'll be on and issues. And then also state issue 1, they just come out with the language with that. However, I think there is a challenge in court, so hopefully they can get that decided really quick. Because obviously we're gonna start testing here less than 4 weeks. Guys have any questions on the readiness for November?
Good job, Jane.
I'll just comment that I love the cooperation that we have in the county and with you two, and I feel confident the vote will be done and handled properly. I hope and pray that it's throughout the United States that way.
We agree, and I am very lucky to have a partner like Jane, so she even thinks like me now, so it's great.
8:01 Tuesday, I'll be done asking you guys for the.
You guys do a great job. I mean, what's in the news so much around this time is voter integrity.
Right.
Voting integrity, and you guys are just have an impeccable record, so I applaud you for that. Seriously.
There's a couple other things we wanted to go over real quick.
Jeez,
Yeah, are you hungry, Tony?
Trying to push it back.
at least one of you.
Another thing that we've been working on is our ADA surveys. We go through all 34. We don't. Don Makeley has been working on that and a seasonal employee. They go through all 34 polling locations. There's quite a bit that they look at. This is what they're looking for on each location. It's about 5 hours to complete that survey, and that's hours out in the field, and then about 3 hours to actually do the report back in the office. So they're looking for things, like handicapped parking spots and can you have a van handicap spot? What's the threshold to get in the door? What's the slope of the parking lot? What's the ramps? The bathrooms, how are they? Every ADA aspect that you can think of. And we do give all those reports to the state. There is some things that we can help with. We have handicap signs that are on post and base that we give some locations and they'll hold them and use them every election. We also have thresholds or cones if we need to block off spots to make it a van accessible parking spot. So that's something that John's been working on. Do you have any?
No, it's just every polling location has to be accessible on election day for federal guidelines. The American Disability Act has required that. State came up with a survey for each polling location. It is quite handy, actually. It helps us a lot with getting the polling locations ready. And our poll workers are trained also as far as that polling location inside the area accessible for voters.
And then next Tuesday, the 27th, we're going to be doing a CISA tabletop. That's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. They're putting that on, and we've also collaborated with Ashland and Huron counties. So their directors are coming down to our office because they only have a limited number of spots. And that's something that we're going to participate in. They'll go through. I haven't been through, I've been through one tabletop. You've been through more.
And they're very helpful. They put you through a whole bunch of scenarios. And then you collaborate with, we'll be doing it with Huron and Ashland, as Matt said. And you try and solve problems and, whatever they throw at you, you have to work through. And it's nice because you hear from across the country, you hear from across Ohio, how other boards are working through the same problems.
And then the last thing that we'll touch on, we did just go with a new software vendor for kind of helping to manage the poll workers and then also an asset management database. So we went with Integra. We have the poll worker end pretty much set up. And what that does for us is if we want to find someone by a phone number, we can type in the last 4 digits of their phone number and it'll pull that poll worker up. If we want to send a text message to just our presiding judges, we can click all the presiding judges, type the message in, and one click and it goes to all the presiding judges. Or we can send it to all 540 poll workers.
On a text message?
Yeah, like, hey, we're getting ready to send out your assignments or email your assignments. Be watching for that. We're going to try that out. I don't know that we'll use all the functions for this election. And it's something that it makes it a lot easier to do those functions. We have nothing like that right now. If we want to email them, we physically have to go in and do the email to where now you can click a button, it'll check all whichever group you want to send them to. It's very, very nice.
Yeah, and it's going to help a lot with, as we get closer to elections, Matt takes care of the Democrats, I take care of the Republican workers. We get cancellations. We have to go into our system now, remove them, put the sub in, then we have to contact the presiding judge and the voting location manager and send them all that information. That's all going to be with this new software. It's all going to be handled like it's just making one move, just removing that person. PJ and VLM will be notified immediately and be sent their contact information of the new worker.
And another thing that we're doing with that is all the poll workers used to have the little sticky name tags that they'd write their own name on that never stuck to their shirt the whole day. So we have talked with Matt Hill with IT and we're going to make like county badges on a lanyard.
Good move. Good.
Badges?
With their picture on it, which is good for the voting location manager too. Because like Jane said, if we replace someone Tuesday morning at 3 a.m., that voting location manager, okay, yep, that's the name I got. I can see, you have a picture on your lanyard. So we think it'll be a lot better for the voting location managers and voters to identify who the poll workers are. So that's another feature that we're putting out for this election as well. Anything else I missed on that?
I don't think so. Any questions?
Any questions besides Tony?
I have
It's good to see Jane.
a question. This is a little thing on the ADA sheet.
Mhm.
Solution to install vertical signage. What is vertical signage? Is that like a vertical arrow?
Yeah, there's a certain requirement for ADA signage for disabled voter parking. based on the number of spots, and it has to be a certain height. And it has to have a fine sign on it.
So like for that one, it was a van access sign. So we probably have those. That's what I said. There's some things that we have that we will supply. So we'll go out and supply the pole, the base that it sits on and the sign. They can either leave it out all year or they can bring it in and just bring it back out every election day.
Private polling locations have a handicap sign, but it may be, 4 feet off the ground. And there'd be no fine sign. We, as a polling location, we can't use that. We'll have to provide the proper signage.
Do you have any questions?
For some questions that you've gathered, we're gonna do, I think, a full half-hour show with you here
Mhm.
over the next month or so. But, the voter integrity piece, just talk about just the thoroughness and, back checking and checks and balances that you guys have in place here in Richland County, and people should feel safe and secure that their
Right.
vote is what it is.
I mean, first and foremost is, like Jane said, everything we do in our office is bipartisan. It's always a Democrat, Republican, anything we do. But we will do a public test. That's where we're running the tabulation system to make sure it's tabulating correctly. We'll do that at a board meeting. We do multiple of those, starting in October, I believe the 1st of October, we'll start doing that. We do the logic and accuracy testing like we talked about, starting in September 16th, setting up all 443 machines. Takes about 45 minutes per machine to run it through the testing, to put it down, seal it. Those seal numbers are recorded, and that's what the poll workers are verifying on election morning to make sure nothing's been tampered with on the voting machine. We also, on election night, obviously the tabulation, it's in front of our full bipartisan board. And it's all done bipartisan. So there'll be a Democrat and Republican sitting at that computer uploading the results. Keep in mind that our whole tabulation room is not hooked to a network. So there is no, it's just in a loop for all the computers in that room. And then when we send the results to the state, that's on a dedicated line that's monitored by the FBI, by the state of Ohio, by CISA, by Homeland Security. So there's many people that's monitoring that. And one thing that people don't know is we do a audit after every election. So every election, we have to pick at least 2 polling locations. Sometimes it's 3. It has to be 5% of the vote. A lot of times it's more than that. I think the last one we did is almost 10%, just how it worked out, because the polling locations are drawn at random. And what we do for the audit is we unroll the tapes from the machines. So that's why people can't take that tape. That is our record. So we'll have bipartisan teams, a Democrat, and Republican. One will be going through the tape. We do 3 races, and they'll say, hey, this person, the other person's marking it. So a Democrat's marking and a Republican's looking, and they're telling them what to mark, and then vice versa. So we go through every ballot for that polling location, whether it be election day, early voting, paper ballots. We have to go through them all, and then we match that up to what was tabulated for the official count.
Even before election day, we go through a series of mock elections with the Secretary of State also. We're given a series of data points where we run it through tabulations sort of, and then we'll be reporting to the Secretary of State. So it's not like, okay, on election night, that's the first time the state hears from us. We actually started one today, that will have one event that's due on the 27th. And we have, I believe, 12 events before election day that we'll be doing with the Secretary of State's office.
Okay. Okay.
Carl, questions?
Oh, plenty of questions. I think it was earlier this month, like August 6th or something. Secretary of State, I think, took 154,995 inactive and out-of-state voters from the database. How many of those did you have to remove in Richland County? And do you anticipate any problems in this election cycle if somebody might not know that they've been removed?
In Richland County, we had about a little over 3,700
Something like that.
that we removed. A good number of them have been inactive for a long time.
We're
Haven't,
talking 2012, 2008. I mean,
and when we're talking, we're not just talking voting. If they sign a petition, that's activity. There's a lot of things that qualify for activity. It's not just voting. Will there be any problems? It's hard to tell. We hope not. The person, obviously, we encourage people to go online and check their registration, or call us at the Board of Elections to check their registration, and do that before October 7th. That way, if there is a problem, they can take care of it then, get registered, and make sure they're good to vote on November 5th.
and they don't get to that point without prior notification. We go through National Change of Address and COA process where we're sending out thousands of letters to these voters who have been flagged, asking, hey, can you confirm this is your address, that you're still living there? Because some people just don't vote and they'll send it back and say, yes, I'm still registered there. They're fine. It's the people that move and don't change their address. That's the people we're catching. We've had people who have filled out and said, no, I no longer live at that address. That way, then we can get them merged to their other county too. It's important for people to go on our website and look up their voter registration, make sure everything's accurate. It's very easy to do. The directions are on our homepage.
Right, and as you look at election night itself, and I see like 60,000 voters in 2020, 56 in 2016, almost 70 in 2012. Obviously, there's always more votes during a presidential election cycle. How do you anticipate long lines, or do you think more people have got the idea now about early voting that they can actually start voting a month ahead, which helps reduce that on election day itself?
Yeah, we don't anticipate any long lines here in Richland County. We've never had long lines with all those numbers of the years in 2008, 2012, we never had lines. I think early voting does help that. And the absentee vote by mail helps. And having a whole month to come in to the Board of Elections and vote at your convenience for all the hours that I listed. I don't anticipate any lines. That there could be a line at the early vote center that last weekend. Absolutely. Especially Sunday, the last day of early voting, they're lined out the door.
And there is long lines, but as far as the wait time, that's a different dynamic. We've never had anybody wait more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
And again, that's just at the Longview Center for early vote. We've never had a wait at a polling location on election day of that long that I'm aware of.
And if there were, on the fluke chance there was, we have contingency plans for that. So we have spare ICXs. We have get extra workers out there. There's other things we can do. Yeah.
And Matt, I did hear you use an oxymoron earlier, and I wanted to call your attention to it. You said a logic test when it comes to voting, and I'm just trying to think politics and logic, how any of those two things actually go together. So,
well, at the Board of Elections, they do. Imagine that.
That's because James
same thing as Democrats and Republicans working together.
Yeah, dogs and cats and Republicans and Democrats. I don't know whether you can answer this question, but I'm going to ask it. Why can Ohio count votes in the same night and report results? In other states, it takes days, maybe even longer, to report results when it comes to presidential elections.
The one thing I know is there is some states that cannot open the absentees until 7:30 election night. That's where Ohio has it right. And that's why we can get the numbers out, because if we had to open all those absentees after 7:30 election night, you would not have them that early. There's no way, it's not possible. We spend a lot of time opening those ballots. Obviously we can't tabulate them early, but we can open them and have them ready to go through the tabulation as soon as 7:30 hits. A lot of states cannot even open them until after 7:30. So to me, that's one of the biggest differences, but I don't know all the ins and outs of the other states, but I do know that's a thing in some. Jane.
Yeah, no, that's accurate.
Okay, well, that's what I had. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in. Go forth and
Thank you, Jane.
Thanks, Cliff and Daryl.
you're welcome.
5-minute recess then?
5-minute recess. It's 10:20 or it's 10:25.
We will.
Talk to Shelley.
Back in the. Kind of
No,
waiting.
you're fine.
Depending on how the state issue one goes, we could have to push it a little bit.
No, that's fine.
I'm hoping, but we've been down this road before.
You got 4 It is 10:30. We are back in session. We've been joined by the head of our maintenance department, Josh Hicks. Josh wants us to buy a truck.
Yep. One of our trucks is going downhill fast. Took it to the B&B. And they estimated about $5,000 worth of repairs that needed to be done. Since had a few more issues, not knowing what those costs are gonna be. Done $6,000 worth of repairs in the last 2 years to the same truck. So in discussion, went and got estimates for the truck to replace that vehicle. Started off, came in, I started local with Rams and they came in, but they didn't have exactly what I was looking for. Started with Donley's, same difference. They were able to go find one, but they were more money. So I went with what's that I have. I went with Weeklies. They are local. They came in their base price and then with rebates showing on this paper $48,015. But there is an additional rebate that can be applied if and when we purchase a plow.
You plan to do that?
Yes, that was also in the quote package,
Is the rebate.
$1,000. An additional $1,000,
Beyond the $1,000 rebate that's here.
correct?
You're looking at 47,
Yes,
but the others are lower.
and then Valley Ford. Their quote came in at $45,974. They're in Huron. Krieger's out of Columbus came in at $45,516.
So you're asking for which one, Krieger?
Either Weeklies or Krieger's. If we wanted to keep it local, go with Weeklies. If we want to go with
That's Weeklies if they would price match.
that, they said this was where they were at.
So the plow,
And the plow will be additional. That's,
so to any of these,
yes, that was in,
and this is gonna be primarily a snow plow or?
it's gonna be one of the guys' maintenance trucks. And then, but it'll be the plow truck that will do the Longview Center.
So what do you wanna do?
We need to. I like Krieger, I like Ford. I'm personally driving a Ram. Going to keep the logo, we'll go with the Weekly, or we can go with the lower bid at Krieger.
I think we go with the lowest, right?
I think we have to.
Lowest and best, seems like both are comparable, I think. I'm not local, it is Ohio. Or, but I think the price is significant enough where we need to go with a cheaper bid. This time I'll make a motion that we approve the Krieger quote.
Snow plow.
And then additionally, with that truck, I would need to purchase a snowplow.
Add that on.
Do you have a truck, the existing one that's gonna go to Gov Deals?
Yes, the existing truck, once we get this truck from Krieger, you will clean it out and put it on Gov Deals.
On the one that figures on the lot right now?
Yes.
Second.
From reinvestment fund.
Oh, you left that out, didn't you, Hicks?
I did not budget for a new truck this year. I was planning coming up, but
To be paid for out of the Richland County Reinvestment Fund, which is Fund 100.
Thank you.
thank you.
Right, Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Okay. Here you go.
What year is it?
Go forth and get it done.
What's the one you're trading in? What year is that?
2014.
2014. Was 10 years old.
Okay. Can we certify the record of proceedings for August the 15th?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Mears,
Yes.
Approve position.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Okay. Carl, do you have any questions? Oh, we got, pardon me,
Does Nicole have any questions?
Carl,
left. Paul, do you have any questions? Okay. The other business.
Not for me.
Nope.
At 10:36, the board will stand adjourned.